So this is lesson 83 in Algebra 1, and this has to do with coin problems. And what we're going to do is we're going to use two equations to solve these. So let's just start out with example 83.1. Jack and Betty have 28 coins that are nickels and dimes. So if we take the nickels, and we'll use N, and we take the dimes, and we add those up, we have 28. That's what it says there. We have 28 coins that are nickels and dimes, so when we add them up. So one of the things that they do is they put, instead of nickels and dimes, they'll put N here for the number of nickels. Oops, I'm sorry, I got it backwards. The number of nickels and the number of dimes. If we took the quantities and add them up, we get 28. And number. Okay. So that's the one part of our equation. So all this means is number of nickels, number of dimes. There are not two variables here. This is not N and this, and it gets you all confused. This is just one variable to explain to me what we're talking about here. Number of nickels, number of dimes. It's just so I know what I'm doing. Alright, so let's look at the rest of this. It says, if the value of the coins is $1.95, how many coins of each type do they have? So if I'm looking for the value of the coins, so let's say I have 10 nickels. How much is 10 nickels? Well, 10 nickels is 50 cents, right? Because each nickel is worth 5 cents. Okay? Or, if you want to, instead of doing that, you can do 5 cents. I guess that's the way I should write it. Equals 50 cents. If I have 14 dimes, how much is that? Well, it's $1.40 because each dime is worth 10 cents. So if I want to know the value of money that I have, I take the number of the coin, which say is 4, and I multiply it by its value. So if it's a quarter, it would be 4 times 25 cents, which is 100 or $1. So that's what we're doing in this next part. The value of the coins is $1.95. And if they use a fraction there, you're going to have to put your nickels and dimes or a decimal there, you're going to put your nickels and dimes in decimals. Alright, so if the value of the coins is $1.95, so that means the number of nickels times its value, 0.05, I have to use 0.05 because they used a decimal there, plus the number of dimes times their value, 0.10, equals $1.95. Okay? If we wanted to change this, so it didn't have a decimal, we wanted to change it to 195, it's easy. We just don't write the other ones as decimals. And then that makes life so much easier. So you just move the decimal place over twice for each one of these, and it gets rid of the decimal. Alright, so now we have two equations here, and we're going to have to solve these. Alright, I'm going to rewrite this bottom equation. I'm going to put the number first. Just so it cleans it up a little bit. Make that look like a real plus sign. And then I'll get rid of this. Okay, so now I have a system of equations. Remember these? If I multiply the top by -5, then that'll make it so these are both the same number with opposite signs. So let's go ahead and write that next to it. -5 trying to distribute that -5. 28 times 5, 140. Okay, and we're going to leave the bottom alone. Okay, so we're going to add those and those go away. And then we have 5 there. And then we add these and we get 55. Divide by 5, divide by 5. And the number of nickels is 11. Now remember up here, we said the number of nickels plus the number of dimes is going to be 28. So if the number of nickels plus 11 is 28, then the number of nickels must be 28 minus 11, which is 17. So there's the number of nickels, and there is the number of dimes, and that's what we are looking for. They said, how many coins of each type do they have? Okay, so let's look at 83.2. Ming. Okay, Ming has $4.45 in quarters and dimes. So when you add the values of what she has together, you get $4.45. So if we take a quarter, 25 cents, times however many we have, number of quarters, and we take the dimes and what they're worth times the number, we get 4.45. Notice I took the decimals out. I wrote the quarter is 25 and the dime is 10. Change everything to pennies. Alright, she has 8 more quarters than dimes. So if we took the number of dimes and added 8, we would have the number of quarters, right? Because she has 8 more quarters than dimes, so we're trying to make them equal. So she has 8 more quarters than dimes, and in order to make them equal, we would have to add 8 to the number of dimes, and then they are the same. Alright, so that's our information, but look what we've got here. Number of quarters equals number of dimes plus 8, so that means whenever I see this, I can put that in its place. Okay, that makes it easy. I can distribute that. Okay, now I can add that and that. Okay, subtract 200. This is just the regular algebra that you're used to doing. Okay, divide by 35, divide by 35, and the number of dimes then is 7. Okay, so then I look up here and I can say, wow, I can put my number of dimes in there, and I get 15. So I get 15 quarters and I get 7 dimes. And that's all they were looking for, is how many coins of each type does she have. So last example has to do with Orlando, example 83.3. He had 22 nickels and dimes. So his number of nickels plus his number of dimes is 22. It also says that the value of the coins he had was $1.35. So if he took the value of nickels, so 5 cents times however many nickels he had, plus the value of the dimes times however many dimes he had, he is going to get 135. So again, I took the decimals off of everything. Alright, so what we're interested in is how many coins of each did he have. So let's go ahead and I guess I don't really need these little parentheses here, do I? So let me clean this up a little bit. Kind of makes it easier when you don't have the parentheses sometimes. If they're necessary, I put them there. But sometimes it makes things a little confusing. Okay, So now we need to make one of these the same as one of these so that we can add them and they disappear. So I can make that a -10, so I can add it with this 10 to make it disappear, or I can do it with a -5 to make this one. So let's just do it with -5, just because it's on the left. Alright, so my top then becomes -5, number of nickels, plus, -5 times number of dimes would be -5, number of dimes equals -22, -110, and the bottom stays the same, and that equals 135. So I add those up, and those turn into 0. That gives me a 5 equals 20. Oops, not 20, 25. Get a little carried away doing stuff in my head. Divide by 5, divide by 5. So my number of dimes is going to be 5. Alright, so what about my number of nickels? My number of nickels is I'm just going to have to put that 5 in there. So I'm going to put a 5 in there. And my number of nickels then is going to be 17. So number of dimes is 5, number of nickels is 17. And that's it for lesson number 83.